Hello everyone, I'm TWK of TWK Reviews. I'm here to review whatever's on my mind, and today we're looking at not just Arkham Asylum, but also comparing it to Batman Arkham City. Yeah, I got Game of the Year edition for both of these. Never noticed that until now. Really showed you how late in the game I jumped into things. Around, I want to say, late 2011, early 2012-ish, somewhere around there, maybe. I don't know. It's hard for me to remember time from back then. It is a blur. But do you know what's not a blur? My Plus Ultra patrons over at patreon.com/TWK Reviews. Those people being Bobber Costnada, Bobber Reviews, and Ricky Relic. By the way, I was originally going to just do Arkham Asylum. I recorded all the footage. I even wrote a script for this, but I just wasn't happy with the result. I was like, yeah, I could just review Arkham Asylum, but everybody's done that. But not enough people compare the two games, although I'm sure several people have. But here's my take on the games and how they compare, how they're like, how they're different, how one improves, and how one is actually kind of not an improvement, kind of, sort of. Anyways, here are my random thoughts on these games. Let's fucking go, baby! When it comes to the first two Arkham games, I can't help but pair them together in my head, probably because I played them back to back nearly 10 years ago. Also, how has it been a decade already? Just make the time just stop. Anyways, the first thing to look at when comparing the games is how they approach the overarching narrative. Arkham Asylum is very basic with its story, being that Joker just takes over the aforementioned asylum and Batman must stop him. There are a few twists and turns along the way, but nothing too dramatic. The most extreme turn A2 makes is turning the Joker into a Titan for all of 15 minutes in the finale. Outside of that, it's basically just business as usual, and this is probably done by design. At the time, Rocksteady's only game was Urban Chaos, a first-person shooter game that I only know about at the time due to a demo being included with Hitman Blood Money. The best way to look at Arkham Asylum is a big ol' huge honking class reunion, I think. Never went to one, to be honest, but that metaphor feels appropriate, so that's what we're going with. I mean, we've got Kevin Don't Call Me Chugga Conroy, Mark the Cockknocker Hamill, and Arlene Sorkin all reprising their roles from the animated series. For my wrestling fans out there, it's kind of like ECW One Night Stand 2005. One big last get-together, and if this is how it all goes out, then this would have honestly been perfectly fine. Now for City's story. Here, an entire chunk of Gotham is boarded up and made into a giant prison for the worst of the worst the town has to offer, as well as anyone the warden, Dr. Hugo Strange, doesn't particularly like. Thus, Batman must stop him, but he must also work on a cure for the Joker due to the fact that the Clown Prince has poison blood, and he makes sure Batman does as well. And on top of that, something called Protocol 10 will be taking place in a matter of hours. And on top of that, Catwoman is here, provided you have the DLC. Yeah, kind of a dick move, but thankfully, I guess maybe, she doesn't add too much gameplay-wise, but it's still a cheap move to lock her behind DLC. Oh, and Talia and Ra's al Ghul are here as well! And Mr. Freeze! And Harvey Two-Face! And the Penguin! And Solomon Grundy! And Clayface! Yeah, the main plot's baddies are pretty crowded, to be honest. I mean, hell, I didn't even mention the optional ones. Nevertheless, some of them barely get any screen time, especially Two-Face. He only shows up at the beginning, and if you have the DLC, then after the credits. But if you don't, then he gets less than 10 minutes of screen time. Fuck, they did Harvey really dirty in this series. Harley Quinn may not have much going on, but at least she's there. How does the Penguin of all people have a bigger role than Two-Face? How? Fuck Cobblepot, little British bastard. Alright, getting back on track, City is also the first game in the series to start a body count with the villains. In Asylum, the only people who died were the ones that worked there. In City, Hugo, dead. Ra's, dead. Talia, dead. Clayface, dead. The motherfucking Joker is fucking dead, man. Someone call Drowning Pool because the bodies are hitting the goddamn floor. One of the worst things this game does, however, is present the player with the biggest threat Batman could ever be faced with and do literally nothing with it. In the opening moments of the game, Hugo Strange reveals that he knows that Batman is secretly Bruce Wayne. Once again, Strange knows that the Bat and the Billionaire are one and the same, and City does not do a single thing with this gigantic piece of plot despite it potentially ruining the life of the Capes Crusader. Suffice to say, this is one of the reasons why I actually prefer Asylum's plot over City's. Yeah, it's simple to a fault, but at least it doesn't trip over itself, and on top of that, there's nothing wrong with simple as long as it's done well. Now for the presentation. Arkham Asylum has a very retro future gothic aesthetic and I really dig it. Rocksteady really went out of their way to make each area feel distinct so you always know where you need to go. One thing I always appreciate in games is whenever devs make a world feel bigger than it actually is, and that's no different here. You can easily circle the island in under a minute, but the way everything is structured makes the place feel gargantuan. City's approach is to take Asylum, double it, and do away with the hallways that divide the separate sections of the island. Because of this, City definitely feels more free to explore, along with the fact that you can just glide everywhere, as opposed to being always on foot in Asylum, which is kind of strange for a Batman game in retrospect. The one thing lost in translation is the retro future tech, but I guess one can explain that away by saying that the Wayne-funded Asylum would have better technology than just a makeshift prison. In fact, most of Arkham City looks just like a city. Sure, there are a few distinct locations, but just thinking as I'm writing, it doesn't have the same feeling of always knowing where everything is as Asylum does. I guess it really just comes down to what you prefer, a smaller island with more personal touch, but with a claustrophobic, restrictive feeling, or an open city that feels free to explore but at the cost of losing some of the charm. One area where there is absolutely no debate is gameplay. Asylum set one hell of a bar, but City yeets itself over it with absolute ease. Everything from the basic combat to the gadgets, the stealth, it all feels better in City. I mean, just look at how high of a combo I'm getting in one of the earliest fights you get into. This is absolute bonkers and I love it. This is easily City's strongest feature, and in my opinion, this is where the overall gameplay peaked. And yeah, I said peaked. We'll get to you soon enough, Arkham Knight, and your bullshit car nonsense. What isn't nonsense are boss fights. City has them in spades, and they're all amazing. Each one of them, especially Mr. Freeze. That right there is a Hall of Fame worthy boss fight. Asylum, though, it has a boss fight? Poison Ivy. That's it. I understand this is new territory for the team, but would have killed them to make more than one boss fight? I will say this in terms of Asylum's gameplay. Those Scarecrow sections were pretty boss themselves. They always catch you off guard, especially when they decide to break the fourth wall. Expertly done, team. Easily top 5 wall breaks of all times in a video game. Hell, any media, really. Now, if you're one for bonus content, then City has quite a bit for you. Sure, Asylum has the Riddler side quest, which is perfectly fine for me, as whenever I want to complete a game, Asylum is near the top of the list. But if you want a challenge, then oh boy! City has not only multiple side quests to complete, featuring more B-list villains to track down, but Riddler, fucking Riddler. So, where Asylum had about 100 combined Riddler trophies, riddles, and question marks to find, City has well over 200. Regardless, if you want extra content, then City has you more than covered. Not only do you get side stuffs, but you can tell throughout this video that there's bonus outfits you can wear throughout the story, provided you input the code you see on screen before loading up your game. So, which game do I overall prefer? Really, it depends on the day. If I want a quick narrative, then I go with Asylum. If I want something I can sink my teeth into for several hours more, then I go with City. Either way, you're going to have a fun time here. And that is the video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Let's thank my Class 1B patron, Mr. Case Nicholas Moore, aka the Evil Reverend. Thank you so much. If you want to join him or any of the other people that I named, head on over to patreon.com/TWK Reviews so you can join in and have your name heard aloud here on these video series as I stumble my way through these unscripted segments. Now, if you're wondering why I look different at the moment, that's because, well, I had to re-record this second segment because my buddy Greg, whose book New World is available on Amazon.com, at least right now physically as far as I can tell, the digital version has been taken down, so hopefully you can get that all situated. Just want to give a little update of that just in case you're looking for the Kindle version of the book. It is not currently available, at least not as of this recording. Hopefully you can get that all sorted out, but I just want to put that out there just in case, things are still the way they are, or things go tits up, and unfortunately the physical one gets taken down as well. We have no idea what's going on in that situation, so hopefully all that can be figured out, and my buddy Greg, aka Shintire Curl, aka Maxicorn, he can get all that figured out because he definitely deserves to have a boatload of success because he is a very, very creatively minded person. Anyways, that is going to do it for this season of TWK Reviews. Yes, we finally come to the end of Season 2. What's going to happen for Season 3? Find out all that information and more after these credits. Alright, what am I going to be doing for Season 3? Well, first of all, going to have more of an emphasis on video games. I think that should be obvious by the past several videos. Number 2, going to be doing some wrestling vlogs over on my old channel. So if you enjoyed the first half of Season 2, I'm going to be doing some more of that over there. Although probably not nearly as edited. And number 3, when it comes to release schedule, I think that I'm going to just go back to the way I did things in Season 1, where I'm going to release it, put it on Patreon, and then put it on public about a week or so later. I think that would be a good way to do things. So that's going to be the future for the TWK Reviews YouTube channel. Hopefully you will all join me in the future for Season 3, and hey, maybe even Season 4.